Europe once built semi-trucks so advanced, so powerful, and so brilliantly engineered that they should have conquered the world. But almost nobody talks about them today. These weren't ordinary rigs. We're talking about trucks with underfloor engines, air-cooled V12s, corrugated aluminium cabs, and revolutionary suspension systems that modern engineers still study. They were swallowed by mergers, killed by politics, or simply outrun by time. Today, we bring 10 of them back from the dead. Number 1. Büssing Commodore, 1950s–1971. Let's start in Braunschweig, Germany, with a company that was, by any measure, one of the most technically brilliant truck manufacturers ever to turn a wheel on European tarmac. Büssing AG was a German bus and truck manufacturer, established in 1903 by Heinrich Büssing in Braunschweig. But it was what they did after World War II that truly set them apart from every other manufacturer on the continent. While the rest of Europe was building trucks with big vertical diesel engines mounted out front or under a hood, Büssing took a completely different path. In 1950, the company name became Büssing Nutzkraftwagen GmbH, and production was concentrated on underfloor-engined trucks, which were to become the firm's specialty. Most tractor units and all normal control trucks had vertical engines, but in the mid-1960s there was a version of their Commodore maximum weight tractor unit, the 16-210, which had a horizontal diesel mounted under the cab ahead of the front axle, the gearbox being mounted halfway along the truck's chassis. Think about what that means for a moment. The engine was tucked flat under the cab, with the gearbox positioned halfway down the frame. The cab sat over absolutely nothing. No engine tunnel, no heat, no noise blasting up through the floor. For long-haul drivers in the 1960s, this was almost science fiction. It was more like sitting in an aircraft cockpit than a truck cab. The Commodore was capable of pulling massive loads across the German Autobahn, and it earned a fanatical following among German hauliers. But Büssing was always fighting a commercial battle it couldn't quite win. In 1969, Büssing started strong ties with MAN AG. In 1971, an MAN takeover of Büssing was announced. MAN started to use the lion logo on its newly named MAN Büssing trucks. Büssing's unique underfloor-engined truck range continued in production under MAN AG through to the late 1980s. And here's a beautiful footnote to this story. MAN retained the Büssing corporate logo, the Braunschweig lion, the king of beasts. It still decorates the grills of MAN commercial vehicles to this day, reminding us of the king of trucks and pioneer of mobility, Heinrich Büssing. Every time you see a MAN truck on the motorway, that lion on the grill is a ghost of Büssing. That's the legacy of a forgotten genius. Number 2. Berliet T100, France. A country known for wine, art, and apparently building the biggest truck in the world. In 1957, Berliet built the T100, the world's biggest truck. Let that sentence sit with you for a moment. A French company in 1957 built the world's biggest truck. Not an American company, not a German company. A French company from Lyon called Berliet. The Berliet T100 was a mining and construction giant of staggering proportions. It was powered by a massive 600 horsepower engine and was designed to haul extraordinary loads across the Sahara Desert for oil exploration. It weighed around 100 tons fully loaded, and each of its tires was taller than a grown man. Berliet was a French manufacturer of automobiles, buses, trucks, and military vehicles, among other vehicles, based in Vénissieux, outside of Lyon, France. Founded in 1899, and apart from a 5-year period from 1944 to 1949 when it was put into administration sequester, it was in private ownership until 1967, when it then became part of Citroën and subsequently acquired by Renault in 1974 and merged with Saviem into a new Renault Trucks company in 1978. The Berliet mark was phased out by 1980. Marius Berliet had been building remarkable vehicles since 1894, and the company grew into a powerhouse of European truck manufacturing. But corporate politics eventually ended everything. The Berliet and Saviem brand names, initially maintained, were eventually abandoned in 1980. The Renault lozenge replaced them on all its truck radiator grills. Over 80 years of truck-making heritage wiped out with a logo change. The T100 itself, arguably the most ambitious truck project France ever undertook, disappeared from memory almost completely. Today, very few people outside the trucking history community even know it existed. Number 3. Saviem SM. Saviem is another French name that deserves far more respect than history has given it. The Société Anonyme des Véhicules Industriels et d'Équipements Mécaniques, commonly known by the acronym Saviem, was a French manufacturer of trucks and buses/coaches, part of the Renault Group, headquartered in Suresnes, Île-de-France. The company was established in 1955 by merging Renault heavy vehicle operations with Sommois and Latil, and disappeared in 1978 when it was merged with former rival Berliet to form Renault Véhicules Industriels. Despite existing for only 23 years, Saviem packed an extraordinary amount of innovation into its lifespan. Their heavy semi-tractors were capable, reliable, and well-regarded across France and beyond. But what makes Saviem truly fascinating is how deeply embedded it was in European truck cooperation. In 1975, Saviem, together with DAF, Volvo, and Magirus-Deutz, became co-founder of the Club of Four cooperation to produce medium-sized trucks. The Club of Four was one of the most important and least talked about moments in European truck history. 4 rival manufacturers from 4 different countries sat down and agreed to share cab designs and drivetrain components to reduce costs and achieve economies of scale. It was a remarkably forward-thinking act of industrial cooperation, and Saviem was right at the heart of it. The shared cab that came out of this arrangement in 1975 was used by Renault, Iveco, Mack, and other brands for years. Saviem also had a decade-long technical cooperation with MAN of Germany and signed engine production agreements with Fiat and Alfa Romeo. For a company that barely gets a footnote in most truck histories, it was extraordinarily active, innovative, and internationally connected. When it vanished into Renault in 1978, the trucking world lost one of its most interesting engineering voices. Number 4. Pegaso Z27 Barajas. Spain in 1955 was not exactly the first country you'd expect to produce a world-class semi-truck tractor. The country was still rebuilding after the Spanish Civil War, and the economy was tightly controlled under Franco's government. Yet out of that unlikely environment came one of the most technically audacious trucks of the entire decade. The Pegaso Z207 was a truck model produced in Spain by INASA from 1955 to 1959. It featured a V6 engine and a distinctive cab design. It was nicknamed Barajas for the location close to Madrid, where a new Pegaso plant was built to produce it. The Barajas was the first model that was not derived from a Hispano-Suiza model, being designed from scratch by Pegaso. Its main innovation was its new V6 engine, which was smaller, more modern, and more efficient than the previous ones. In addition, it was a great improvement in ride comfort thanks to its new suspension. Its damping was very advanced, with independent front suspension with overlapping double wishbones, coil springs, and shock absorbers. Its maximum authorized weight was 11 tons, and it reached 90 km/h. Independent front suspension with double wishbones on a semi-truck tractor in 1955. Many modern trucks didn't get that kind of sophistication for decades. The Z2007 also used a direct injection diesel system and light aluminium alloys in the engine construction. technologies that were genuinely avant-garde for the era. The Z2007 was a truck that adopted solutions little seen at the time and that would not be implemented until much later. The result of Wilfredo Riccart's ingenuity, such as the direct injection system or the use of light aluminium alloys for the manufacture of the motor. This engine also equipped a counter-rotating shaft under the crankshaft that made its operation very smooth and balanced at any speed. A counter-rotating balance shaft on a truck diesel engine in 1955, that's remarkable engineering by any standard. It is not too surprising, since adding all its variants, 4,500 units were not manufactured in 8 years of life in the production lines. It was expensive to build and expensive to buy, but what it represented was Spain telling the world that it could build a world-class truck. The Z27 Barajas remains one of the great forgotten tractor units of the 1950s. Number 5. Magirus-Deutz Jupiter. Magirus-Deutz from Ulm, Germany, is another name that trucking enthusiasts still whisper with reverence, but which most people have never heard of. The company made a decision that no other mainstream European truck manufacturer was willing to make. They would cool all their truck engines with air, not water. Every Magirus-Deutz heavy truck ran an air-cooled diesel engine. No coolant, no radiator hose failures, no freezing in winter, no overheating in summer. In extreme conditions, deep winters in Siberia, scorching African construction sites, this gave Magirus-Deutz trucks a massive reliability advantage. In 1974, Magirus-Deutz was awarded a contract called the Delta Project for delivery of 9,500 dumper and flatbed trucks to the USSR to work on the construction of the Baikal-Amur mainline, BAM. This order was the largest in the company's history. Largely because of this single-order, export products accounted for 70% of total production. Magirus-Deutz, 9,500 trucks for one Soviet construction project. That tells you everything about how seriously the world took Magirus-Deutz. Their air-cooled engines were trusted in conditions that would have destroyed conventional water-cooled rivals. In 1975, Magirus-Deutz became part of Iveco, which continued to produce trucks under the name Iveco Magirus for a short time, before dropping the mark from most markets, other than for specialized firefighting work. And that's how a company famous for building the toughest trucks in the world ended up as a footnote. Today, the Magirus name survives only on fire engines. A final irony for a truck maker that once powered the construction of one of the greatest railways on Earth. Number 6. Fiat 619T. Italy's Fiat might be most famous for tiny cars, but in the world of heavy transport, the Fiat 619T was a genuinely important semi-tractor. The Fiat 619 is a multi-purpose tractor for semi-trailer trucks, manufactured from 1964 to 1980 and part of the Fiat VI family of heavy vehicles. The truck was intended to replace the Fiat 692 in production since 1952. The range was also marketed as a Unic in France and as a Magirus-Deutz in Germany. That's a remarkable footnote. The same truck, wearing 3 different badges, sold across 3 different countries. It's a perfect example of how the European trucking industry was quietly globalizing itself decades before anyone used that word. The Fiat 619 was powered by a 6-cylinder diesel engine that grew from 12.8 liters to 13.8 liters over its production life, ultimately producing 260 horsepower. The Fiat 619 T1 served as the enhanced tractor model, optimized for semi-trailer operations with a shorter wheelbase of 3,485 mm and a gross combination weight rating of up to 32 tons. Perhaps the most charming historical footnote about the Fiat 619 is that Ferrari used these trucks in the 1970s to transport their Formula One cars to race circuits around Europe. The iconic red Ferrari transporter of that era was a Fiat 619. While Niki Lauda and Clay Regazzoni fought for world championships, a humble Fiat 619 was making sure the cars actually arrived at the track. In South America, local assembly of the Fiat 619 continued until 1994, primarily in Argentina and Brazil, where it earned the nickname Pico del Oro, due to the distinctive shape of its mustache cabin. On 2 continents, this truck left a cultural footprint, and yet in the history books it barely gets a mention. Number 7. Unic Izoard. 1950s-1960s. Unic is a French truck brand with a history stretching back to 1905, and the Izoard heavy tractor was one of its finest machines. After 1938, Unic concentrated in the truck business, being one of the leading French makes. Through the 1950s and 1960s, Unic built a reputation for solid, dependable heavy trucks that worked day in and day out on French roads and across Europe. The Izoard, named after the famous mountain pass in the French Alps, was their flagship heavy tractor, built to pull semi-trailers across long distances. The name itself tells you something important. Naming a semi-tractor after one of the most brutal mountain passes in France wasn't just marketing, it was a promise. This truck can handle anything the road throws at it. In 1952, the firm was taken over by Simca, headed by Henri Pigozzi, who wanted a commercial vehicle production unit. Trucks of this period are commonly referred to as Unic Simca trucks. In 1956, the French arm of the Swiss truck manufacturer Sora was taken over. In 1966, Unic joined the Fiat Group. In 1975, a holding company named Ivkio was established, covering truck and bus brands such as Fiat, OM, Lancia, Unic, and Magirus. Every corporate takeover that happened to Unic diluted the brand a little more. From Simca to Fiat to Ivkio, the name survived each transition, but something of the soul of the original company was lost with each one. By the time Ivkio Unic SA changed its name to Ivkio France SA in 1992, the Unic identity had effectively ceased to exist. A company with nearly 90 years of truck-making history was absorbed and erased. Number 8. Tatra 813 Kolos. 1982. Now we move east, behind what was then the Iron Curtain, for one of the most extraordinary semi-tractors ever built anywhere in the world. The Tatra 813 is an 8x8 heavy off-road truck manufactured by the Czechoslovak company Tatra from 1967 to 1982. With a total production of 11,751 units, it was designed for both military and civilian applications, featuring a distinctive tubular backbone chassis, central tire inflation system, and an air-cooled V12 diesel engine. An air-cooled V12 backbone chassis, central tire inflation system, controllable from the cab, 4-axle, 8x8 all-wheel drive. In 1967, from Czechoslovakia, the truck's power plant, the Tatra T930 V12 diesel engine, with a displacement of 17,640 cm3, delivered between 2047 and 2067 horsepower at 2,000 RPM and 990 Nm of torque at 1,300 RPM. A 17.6-liter V12 diesel. That is an enormous engine by any standard. And the backbone chassis design, where a rigid central tube ran the length of the truck with all components hanging off it, gave the Tatra 813 an ability to flex and twist over terrain that would have ripped apart a conventional truck frame. The basic representative of this series was a military version of the 8x8 Colossus, which was able to pull trailers up to a total weight of 100 tons. 100 tons. Pulled by a single truck, For long-haul transport, the 4x4 tractor variant was employed to pull semi-trailers with gross combination weights up to 60 tons, demonstrating exceptional reliability in harsh climates, including extended routes through Siberia where its air-cooled V12 engine and independent suspension excelled in extreme cold and mud. This was a semi-tractor that could operate where nothing else would survive. The Tatra 813 Kolos was exported primarily to the USSR, East Germany, Romania, and India. When the Iron Curtain fell, Western trucking enthusiasts finally got to discover what Czechoslovak engineers had been building for decades. And they were stunned. Number 9. ERF E-Series. 1930s Tonthaus. ERF is a British trucking story that begins with one man's refusal to accept mediocrity. ERF was a British trucking manufacturer established in 1933 by Edwin Richard Foden. Edwin Foden wanted to build trucks with the then-new Gardner LW diesel engine. But the board of Foden, the company that bore his family's name, wouldn't agree. So Edwin and his son Dennis walked out and started their own company, using Edwin's initials, ERF. From those defiant beginnings, ERF grew into one of Britain's most respected truck manufacturers. Their semi-tractors were favored by British hauliers for their ruggedness, reliability, and the fact that ERF consistently used the finest available engines from suppliers like Gardner, Cummins, and later Perkins. The cuts in rail lines during the 1960s really worked in ERF's favor, as did the 1964 construction and use regulations, which permitted 30-ton gross weight articulated vehicles. This change in policy was one that ERF anticipated and were able to capitalize on fully. The 32-ton articulated truck regulation was a turning point for British road haulage, and ERF was perfectly positioned to capitalize on it. Their articulated tractor units, built in Sandbach, Cheshire, began appearing all over British motorways. In 1988, ERF registered 3,740 trucks in the UK, a remarkable achievement for an independent manufacturer competing against Volvo, Mercedes-Benz, and DAF. Eventually, ERF was purchased by MAN SE and ceased production in 2008. A 75-year chapter of British truck-making ended quietly with very little ceremony. Number 10. The Berliet TR 350, 1970. We return to France for our final entry, and arguably the most forward-thinking semi-tractor on this entire list. By the 1970s, Berliet was still pushing engineering boundaries even as corporate uncertainty swirled around the company. Their TR 350 was their flagship long-haul tractor, powerful, aerodynamically considered for its era, and equipped with one of the most capable diesel engines then available in Europe. The TR 350 featured a turbocharged diesel producing around 350 horsepower at a time when most European semi-tractors were producing considerably less. Berliet's engineers also paid close attention to cab ergonomics and driver comfort, understanding, ahead of many rivals, that a rested driver was a safer and more productive driver. Renault integrated the Berliet TRH cab into its own truck lineup, and the cab was also sold to Ford Europe for the Transcontinental Prime Mover from 1975 to 1984. That's the measure of how good Berliet's cab design was. Renault adopted it for their own trucks, and Ford Europe bought the rights to use it for their transcontinental tractor. The engineers who designed the Berliet cab were so talented that two of the biggest names in European trucking essentially said, "We'll take that, thank you." After the merger, the Berliet name was phased out and another French marque came to an end by the late 1970s, with the Berliet bus in production, the 1971 PR100, continuing to be sold as a Renault until 1993. Berliet had been building vehicles since 1899, 81 years of French industrial heritage gone. And yet the DNA of Berliet's engineering lived on inside Renault trucks and eventually inside the Volvo Group. Because in 2001, Renault VI became a part of the Volvo Group, and the following year adopted the new trade name of Renault Trucks. So in a sense, every modern Renault Trucks tractor you see on a European motorway carries a small fragment of Berliet's 120-year-old soul. If you found this video fascinating, there are dozens more forgotten European trucks where these came from. Drop in the comments which brand you'd like to see featured next, and if you're a fan of real trucking history, hit subscribe. We're just getting started.